brothers is telling him, yo, listen, this is not right, exact. And so things proceed. So when he comes here, it's kind of like, yo, look, God's already told you what it is. What you came here for. I'm not going to tell you nothing, right? I'm not going to tell you. What you expect me to tell you? Oh, yeah, nah, they not right here. Shit, yeah, you tell me. What do you expect me to tell you? The topic is people keeping pet snakes. Where, see, like Supreme Man said, right? You got your sword out. You got your sword out, right? For the righteous. You got your sword out. The revolution is eating his babies, but see, you got pet snakes. You got snakes that you like. And you go above and beyond letting them live, you keep them alive. You see? And what they do? Sting again and again and again and again and again. There's a difference between disagreeing and what you speaking is not Elijah's teaching. You know what I'm saying? And see, Supreme, I'm gonna tell you what's disappointing, right? Is to know
So, I'm going to get into this one right here because in this day and time, we know that, just on this live stream alone, we've had people come in to this live stream from every continent except Antarctica. We've had people come on the live stream from Africa, Asia. Did anybody come on? I don't think we had Australia. Let's say that Antarctica and Australia. I don't recall anybody coming on from Australia. But is the knowledge relevant in all those places? But is the knowledge relevant in all those places? You know what I'm saying? Or, I hear it all the time, it's not the 70s and the 80s. It's not the 60s, right? So, is the knowledge relevant to this time then? Is our culture, the way we did things and everything, right? Is that relevant to this time? So we're gonna get into that because, see, this got to be open floor. This question right here has got to be open floor because, this is a question that everybody got to answer for themselves. See, a lot of times people ask me, like, how do I translate this? How do I translate this into this time? You know what I'm saying? Or I have these people over here that I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Whatever demographic characteristics that is, right? I got these people over here that I'm dealing with. How do I translate this to them? How do I get this across to them? But this is the question right here that we got to get into, and you have to answer, right? Is, how is that relevant to these people? See, like Truth Seeker, we got it in Felix Almanzar, God Bilal, our God, sincere, true light, divine truth, our teeth, true divine, you know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is always relevant, right? But knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is principles, right, that manifest themselves in different ciphers in different ways, right? So you got man, woman, and child. You got sun, moon, and star. So that's what I'm saying is that, yeah, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But I'm saying in particular, right, you got to ask yourself, like, see, because, if you're not providing no answers and no solutions, right, for whatever it is, right, you know, how is that, relevant to the people who have the problems that they need solutions to? See, that's what I'm saying. We talking about teaching right now. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that we don't count, but we're not talking about from the perspective of those of us that have the knowledge. Right. So we got that question: how is the knowledge of the black man ever not relevant? To us, it's relevant. Because see, is at the end of the day, you know, we talking about continuing daily. So when you talk about just the knowledge of the black man, you know what I'm saying? That's already been manifested, right? By people prior to the date of this writing, right? That's already been made known, right? In that time. So now we saying, I'm asking, in this time and into the future, you know, how is it how is it relevant? This is I'm saying, you know, how is it going to provide the because like I said, this is the question, right, that people ask me a lot of times. You know what I mean? You know, how do I teach this demographic of people over here? Because at this point, they have no idea of the relevance of this to their life. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, as just a set of facts. Like you just saying for people like, okay, here, memorize these lessons. Edward Green. If you're just saying, memorize these lessons or, whatever this set of facts is, you know what I'm saying, then yeah, a lot of people is gonna not see how it's relevant. That's why, you have people that, get the knowledge and then they end up going away because they thinking that, getting the knowledge is just knowing the lessons. Like you're gonna study the lessons and then some magical powers is gonna kick in or something. You see what I'm saying? And they never actually make it relevant. And they, you know, you got years, months, and days, right? And then you got hours, minutes, and seconds. You know what I'm saying? And those is various, to me. When I draw that up in relation to this, is that those is the various. See, some of us deal with this second to second. See, some people they come to the rally once a year, once every other year, you know, every couple of months. That's the cycle that they on. And look, it could be a reason for that. They gotta live their life. But I'm saying that there is those of us that live this, second to second, you know, cell to cell, shall master. So in this days and time, right, how do a person apply this second to second? And in these various places. See, like for instance, when I said that, uh, why I like 120 lessons over the Bible and Quran is that it's not that much time and space between me and Elijah Muhammad. So see the different stuff. If I read the Bible, then I had to get an explanation of certain things. I gotta first of all, in order to really understand it, you gotta speak Greek and Hebrew. You see what I'm saying? Because the translation that we got is not even going to give you the full understanding. That's what I'm saying. You gotta. It's not. That's the whole other language. And then the Greek and the Hebrew that they speak today is not the Greek and the Hebrew they were speaking then. So see, you got to go through all that. See, this is in the same language that I speak. See, when he talk about them being made deaf, dumb, and blind by the devil when they was babies, you ain't got to explain that to me. You ain't got to tell me. I understand perfectly. So it's all a part of meeting people where they are. You have to adjust how you teach or reach people accordingly. Different people require a different magnetic. Not sure if that answered the question. I mean, you you beginning to scratch the surface. Rest are always relevant in the wilderness of North America and any other geographical location where the colonizers have gained ground. Right. Now the colonizers that have gained ground, that's bringing back to what I was saying, is that in these other places though, right, the colonizers have gained ground, but not necessarily in the way it's manifested in the 136. And see, a lot of times, people get it twisted. If you ask me, right? People get it twisted, and they be like, "Yo, man, what's wrong with these 85? They ain't learning." That's not what it says. It says your duty to teach, and then it says that servant which knew his Lord's will. He said, "What's wrong? What's wrong with these 85 and shit, man? Why they want this knowledge? Because you're not making it relevant to them in their time in their space. See, that's why I couldn't, with Christianity, why I didn't like it. Because, you know, I didn't understand why these people 2,000 years ago was having all these direct experiences with God and angels and all of this stuff, and then we not having that now. Like how come those people is a part of the story and they written in the Bible and we not? You know, this bullshit over here where we slaves and we curse. Yeah, nah, I ain't buying that. This stuff, I don't know what this stuff got to these people walking around in the desert in the Red Sea parting and all this stuff. I don't understand what that got to do with nothing. So you can't just go amongst the people. I mean, don't get me wrong. The history has to be known, right? Because the history gives you direction. It lets you know which way which way the knowledge is flowing and born. You see, if all we're gonna do is talk about the past and how it was then and what the gods manifested at that time, then we get right back to the same principle of teaching these people about something they cannot see invisible. He said the knowledge of the black man being God is relevant to the baby's youth when the knowledge is accompanied with wisdom, guidance, and understanding patience to allow growth. See, that's what the people gotta. That's what the people gotta. That's what anybody, right, who's wondering why these 85s is not learning. This is the things what they got to do the knowledge to right there. See, it's the guidance into how to apply all of this stuff in simple everyday ways. See, if you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to teach these people. You know what I'm saying? See, that's one of the reasons why teaching the babies is easier because they're already looking to people that's older than them for guidance. You see what I'm saying? And if they start to see that they, go through hells and come out right, right, and gain love, peace, and happiness from the guidance that you're giving them, right, then they'll stick with it. It says supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, and 120 lessons isn't what I teach the 85%. It's just what I use to draw up my own curriculum to teach civilization. Yeah, I mean, when you just until they become 5%. And see, those is the things. It's only a couple of people answering it. It'd be a lot of people with that question though. And that's the real, look, this is from the 20th century. We're in the 21st century. I be telling my kids that. They see y'all from the end, y'all from the last days of the 1900s. Like it's gonna come a day when people gonna be asking y'all how it was in the 1900s. It's already grown people. It's grown people right now that don't know nothing about the 1900s. You see what I'm saying? This from the olden times. We still looking at black and white TV. what I mean? This from before social media. Bebo Bo Beep said, "What's good, everyone? Asian man checking in. So you're are you from Asia, or you in America? Your heritage is Asian. Welcome to the channel. Either way, it doesn't matter. You know, I just am curious because like I said, I'm from the 1900s, where my impact was as far as my voice could be heard. You know what I'm saying? So to now, uh, be building with people in other places, yeah, that's still, I'm old school enough where that level of technology is still, what's the word? It's exciting. You said the fact that they continue daily is what makes it relevant. So, uh, I mean, indeed, right? But uh, when they continue daily, right? They're making adjustments. Like just out the simple fact that it's like they come up with a way. They come up with a way to make more profit a different way. See Asia, right? They come up with a different way to make profit. You know what I mean? So they're adjusting. They're adjusting. Uh, pretty much the same rules that they was created in. Like all those same principles, they're still applying those first rules and regulations, including all laws enforced and to be enforced while manufacturing the devil. That's what they're still doing right now. But they got various ways to take out the black seed. That's what you got to watch for. You see what I'm saying? So by that same token, I'm saying that yeah, we have our supreme mathematics and our supreme alphabet. See, there's some things that y'all leaving out. That remember, a lot of these things is going in cycles. What's the deal, Medina? See, like right now, you got a lot of gangs in New York. You had a lot of gangs when it started. I'm talking about the 5%. Man, what's the deal? Yo, man, you know who's coming on? Uh, Natural. Natural was coming on the live stream a lot. I haven't seen him in a minute, but uh, Natural was our people too out there. So Bebo, so B Bebo Bo Peep is American Asian. So Bebo Bo Peep, you a 5%er, or you found out it, you just happened to this came across your timeline. Because that's what I gotta start doing. That I realized that, you know, my initial goal of coming on here was just really to deal with us, to eliminate the confusion, that was, I mean, people was planting seeds of confusion. It's not like, people was, you know, being confused because they lacked understanding. But you have people out there to this day, right? That because they don't have their own magnetic, they need to use our magnet. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things they do with that is they try to draw up people that's new to this and people that is just interested in this. Shalom. Said Bebo, what is it? Bebo Bo Peep. Said came across the timeline. I seek knowledge to make sense of the world. I mean, that's peace. You know, this is not, as far as the 5%. You know what I'm saying? And to understand the world, we teach that first you gotta understand yourself. That everything that's out there is inside here. You know what I'm saying? And so to begin to control the things that's going on out here, you gotta control the things that's inside here. You know what I'm saying? And probably the main thing we teach is that there's nothing way out there. That's kind of the basics. that's 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 kind of the basics. But if you have any questions though about anything that we cover on here, feel free to ask. Don Bishop, what's the deal? So yeah, we got some new people came in since we started, right? So the question, right? This is kind of an open question, right? What makes the 5% so relevant in this day and time? In this day and time, and in all the places that the knowledge has traveled to, right? All the places that the knowledge has traveled to since 1964. Like right now, you got Freedom that comes on the channel. He's in Vietnam. So if I do this to teach, that's what I'm saying. Are you just teaching, about the history of the nation and, what I'm saying, a person named Allah that they never gonna be able to see even when they die? You know, you supposed to be teaching those people how the answers, what I'm saying, to all the hurdles and the dilemmas they gotta go through to build a paradise exists in them. And see, we teach the history so that they can know and understand what is the history and the growth and development of that mindset until it got to them. But it's not like nothing they going to learn about the past or somebody that they learned about in the past is going to come over there and do nothing for them. See, that's at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, what it comes down to. See, like, look, you got to take it back to, even the NOI, you deal with Elijah Muhammad, you know, and they see the people that, may have been on drugs or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now you see them with a suit on. You know what I'm saying? They upright, they sober, all of these things where a person can see what Islam different. You can see it with the naked eye. People are seeing how you applying these things that you say. So that was the question. It's an open floor question, right? You know, how is the knowledge relevant to the people you trying to teach? See, like it's various things. You know what I'm saying? Uh, if you ever met any of the older brothers, right, and you have a conversation with them about uh, what was the original magnetic that drew them to the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Or you see people that was in various situations. You know what I'm saying? You know, Colleen had got locked up in DFY. You know what I'm saying? Juvenile, a lot of them was in juvenile. But I'm saying his story in particular, right? He was able to go from that to going to Harlem Prep, to going to City College, to becoming a school teacher. See, that's how this knowledge was relevant to him in that time. That's what he needed, right, in order to be able to get through hell and come out right. So what right now do you have for these people? You know, like, look, you're gonna destroy Christianity, right? And then what you gonna replace it with? Because it's not like the mind is going to just become dormant. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what some people is doing. You just destroying. You're not really building like that. So we have to add on to every cipher to relate to the uncivilized, so we can bring them to a proper civilization. How you mean? Like, give me an example. I see it as what makes the 5% relevant is how we as individuals build and add on using contemporary concepts, not by showing and telling about a mystery God, but by has shown and proven my story as God. So, are you saying uh, being being an example, being an example of uh, of what to do? I'm asking. I don't want to put words in your mouth right there. What makes it 5% relevant nowadays? The youth that we teach, as long as we're teaching the young, will always be relevant. You know, uh, you touched on something that that I've been looking at recently, right? That uh, as a nation, we matured a little bit. Just saying, just in the way we handle things and everything, right? We are, we much more mature. You know what I'm saying? But uh, see, the 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 see, children is active. See, that's the thing about children, man, is that see they multiply. Their energy is boundless. You know, and they principles is black and white. They principles is black and white. You know what I'm saying? You know your lessons, they don't want to hear nothing. You know what I'm saying? And uh, the thing is that they don't understand everything. You see what I'm saying? And so, sometimes it gets a little crazy amongst them. But uh, those are the people that do the most teaching. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, when we ask a question like this, right? And you got all people over 30 asking the question of what we're going to do that's relevant to the young. Like, yeah, you from a whole other Quran, man. we nobody's done that. We never even heard of that. You know what I'm saying? But that is, a lot of things is the original blueprint. A lot of things was the original blueprint. Just like you see, the seed was planted amongst some young brothers, right? So then, the laws and Madawan, those young brothers is multiplying, 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 so that by the time he come back, it's multitudes in comparison to when he first went to Madawan. But see, like I said, you know, uh, when they start multiplying like that without the input of the adults, that's when you start to, get people that, don't get the proper education. I had a young guy tell me his story from adolescence to teen years. He did all the talking after I equated his life thus far to supreme mathematics. He was amazed. I mean, you know, of course, I realize supreme mathematics is amazing, but you know, that's 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 the keys. That see, a lot of people they interested in how they got to here. You know what I'm saying? So they're attracted by history. You understand what I'm saying? You got a lot of people that they dealing with a lot of problems right now. You know what I'm saying? So they attracted to wisdom. You know what I'm saying? How to break things down and solve things. You know what I'm saying? And you got people that is they intrigued by where they going. You know what I'm saying? So, they gonna be attracted to a system and how you do things, you know what I'm saying, and take an idea all the way to being born alive. You know what I'm saying? You said universally self-realization is a concept. So if I add on to the God is you and there's no mystery, probably gotta reword that. I don't really understand. But yeah, we gotta, what I'm saying, Shalon is saying right here is that a lot of things, we see a problem and see we overcomplicate. We overcomplicating it, and either we don't know the history, right, or we not keeping it in mind that the law already dealt with this. Law already dealt with this. Some of those things was already built. It was already built into the foundational elements of this. You know what I'm saying? There already was instructions that was given to the brothers that was around right then. You know what I'm saying? That already apply to a lot of questions we have. Don't get me wrong. It's some questions that's up to us. See, just like right now, we got to teach, right? There's certain things, you know what I'm saying, that that question is up to the people that we give enough knowledge, right, for them to be able to stand on our shoulders and grow from there. You know what I'm saying? Like we already got from point A to point B. You know what I'm saying? With this idea, with this thing that we build in, whatever it is. And so now they could go from point B to point C. See what I'm saying? And some things that that's the baby's just gonna handle that, right? But there's other things, right, that that already was dealt with. And see what happened is we moved away from that. You know what I'm saying? How in some cases people say, you throw out the baby with the bathwater. You see, like I was saying with the hot seat, people, yeah, you hear various stories. But yeah, you know, if they you don't hear as much, about and it's common. It's not like it's look when you make it through the hot seat. So when you make it through the hot seat, you just talking about your own mind. See, we talking about knowledge of self, right? Where now you know how strong your square is. See, everybody's swift in the mirror. right? Like how they say, every one-eyed man is he's got 20/20 vision in the valley of the blind. You see, these is things. Let me tell you something. If you don't, go through the hot seat, if you don't go out there in the world, you know what I'm saying, and manifest this knowledge, like how back in the days when they used to say, when you manifest in wisdom, if somebody try to throw a pebble in your wisdom or a rock in your wisdom and try to stop your flow, you still gotta be able to flow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if somebody challenge what you saying, you're gonna show and prove. See, if you don't really go out there and do that, then all you did is study 35 to 50. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. All you did is study 35 to 50. You ain't do none of this stuff. Just tag yourself at the end of the degree where it say Muslim science. You're not all wise, you otherwise. You can't be all wise because you don't know what happened if you really got to do these things that you were talking about. You see, if you only got this one fear story that's out there, you know what I'm saying, about the hot seat. Listen, man, like I said, the hot seat wasn't no particular thing. When I got the knowledge, you was in the hot seat. You had to get out of the hot seat. Like it was like whenever you came around, you know what I'm saying, everybody knew you was it. Yeah, let's see if this brother's on point, man. Let's make sure he's not playing with this. And then, as you coming around and people start seeing that you're dealing with growth and development, you got out the hot seat. That's how it was when I got the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And see that 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 caused me to know what I was talking about when I went outside. Really the hot seat was outside. But I'm talking about, when I, went to manifest what I'm gonna teach. You understand what I mean? When I went to go build my 5%, you know, I was prepared. Right? Should God manifest some right here. Allah didn't directly make an effort to teach all the youth. He taught a small group and sent them to teach their peers. See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's why you see me with like the boxing class and all that. We got a couple brothers. A couple brothers is getting the knowledge now. You know what I'm saying? Taekwon, and he got his little team of people. Where, you could tell they the school is they meetup spot. Like you see one of them, they'll come and they'll be there. You know what I'm saying? They'll say peace, and then all of a sudden you see the other one show up, and then they go do what they doing. You know what I mean? Or if they gotta go to the bathroom or something, or get a drink of water, they swing through. You see what I'm saying? And then see Tay, that's why I brought him up. See, he got that magnetic. He's the one they really they roll with him. See, like the guy said that's already other people will look at that like, yo, God, you drunk. Like, nah, God, that's the I'm running the plays, God. that's that's in the playbook. I'm just running the plays. See, in the beginning, a lot of people was drawn up by martial arts. See, people was hearing about how good Allah was at martial arts, and then some of the first brothers that he was teaching was already real good at martial arts. So you have people that was coming first for that. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and getting it out of itself. So you see, I got the boxing class. Just running the plays. I'm just running the plays. So see, this is what I'm saying. How I'm making it relevant, you know, in the time, in the place where I'm at. 17. You understand what I'm saying? But getting back to what I was meaning, right? And then look, here's the other thing, right? Here's a here's a part of of the plays. Here's a part of the plays that uh, I want to get to running, right? Is that see a lot took people all the way up to college. See, that's one of the ways that you gotta realize this is one of the ways that it has to be relevant today, right? Is that see when law first is founding this, there's people who don't even know how to read. You know what I'm saying? You know, but in this day and time, you know, those levels of education is, you know, most people is already on that level. Yeah. And he had the knowledge before 7/20/1964. He was 17. But so in this day and time, right, we got to deal with higher education. You know what I'm saying? We have to. That's one of the things that you know we got to build on. Look, not just for the world, not just for the world out there, right? But even for our own children. You know what I'm saying? For our own nation, it's like, you know, in order to be successful, we got to send our children amongst the colored man for education. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, everything they educate them in is not academics. But I mean, I guess, you know, everybody, I guess, you know, we didn't have too many talkers today. I guess y'all will go back over that at whatever other time. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, right now, uh, you got any questions? You got any questions about uh, any of the things that we covered today, or just in general? Screen here. Can't see. All right, there we go. Is that about it? I guess we had another one of those uh, live streams where I like to say that, uh, you know, my wisdom was so crystal clear, that there could be no questions. I left no stones unturned, or questions left to be answered. I suppose that might be the case once again here today. So, you know, everybody that made it this far on the live stream, do the each one, teach one, hit the like button. Welcome to the brother. What is it? Bebop Bo Peep that tuned into the live stream for the first time. You know what I'm saying? And with that, I'm gonna sign off and say peace. You say you have a random question. You see how that happens? You said there was a time when you asked the guys in the chat how many students you had and your kids don't count. I always wondered why that was. Is one more feasible than another? See, uh, those are two different duties. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing, and another thing is, you'll find that a lot of people, uh, when they talking about their kids is young. You know what I'm saying? You know, they could be your kids, but at the end of the day, they got to decide this for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have to fast 3 days to be your child. You see what I'm saying? See, I made my kids fast 3 days. I don't care who you are. Hit me on Facebook. My link should be in there somewhere. Not Facebook, I mean Instagram. Yeah, that's the that's the ones and twos of how I see that. You know what I'm saying? But you said get rid of those boys brush boy. What is it? I remember. I mean, it's been so long. It's been so long since everybody stopped dealing with those. See, I took the flag back that I gave my son because at the time he can't build on it. I mean, yeah, I mean, they gotta be able to. They gotta be able to stand on a square. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just, uh, from a standpoint of trying to control, but it's from a standpoint of, and this is how I look at it, and this is how, I look at people in the nation is like, yo, if something happens to all of us, right, you got to be able to set this back off by yourself. That whoever you are, if you saying you this, right, you wearing that flag, you saying that flag represents you, right, right, then you gotta be able to set this right back off. See, just like Shalon, you was saying already, right? You you gotta be able to run that blueprint, right? That Allah already manifested solo if need be. And that's how I look at qualification, right? And I wouldn't say disqualification, but not qualified. Qualified and not qualified. I wouldn't say disqualified, where a person had to be sent back. Yes, I mean, knowledge is infinite. One only learns what one teaches self. Positive elevation always corrects error. But in any given specific time and place, when we talking about being qualified or not qualified, right? Can you set this off? Like this is what I'm saying. Even at your job, right? Uh, Don Bishop, you know what I'm saying? The most qualified people there, right, can do their thing without no supervisor. You know what I'm saying? If other people don't show up to work, they can, they can piece this together and get it done. They might not be an expert on every aspect of it, but they can get this back on the square. So somebody being somebody's child don't qualify them for that. On Instagram, I'm at a law price. What do you use to make the unknown known? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? I guess Sid said either show or tell. No one else. No one else. I mean, I would think, man, that it's I mean, it's kind of written there. It's right there. You know, how does one make knowledge known? Because it can't be unknown. It can't be unknown to the person who's making it known. It's unknown to those people. How we used to say back at the time, nothing is unknown to Allah. Bernadette Bernie, peace. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, it can't be it can't be unknown to the person who's making it known. So you make knowledge known through wisdom. See, sometimes you can't overcomplicate things. You know, I find that it's best, me, right, when you look in the simplest, the simplest range for the answer. Wade Lewis, welcome to the channel. And just always keep in mind, see, because that's an advantage that I think that I have is that, see, now people get the knowledge at an older age, right? And so your thoughts is just more complex, and you kind of overcomplicate some things. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to uh, me getting the knowledge as a kid, I constantly was trying to simplify it down so that I could understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm being around people that, you know, they they've done more research than me, and they have more experience in life than me. So a lot of things that they're saying, I don't really, I can't grasp the concept as easily as them. You know, and just always remember that, when you explain something, right, it's supposed to become easier to understand. If you explain something and then it's more difficult to understand, you didn't explain it right. Right? See, when you're solving for X in a formula, you got to use what you know. We learned that in school. You can't over intellectually simplicity. You can't over intellectualize simplicity. Yeah, you know, it's the see. You gotta remember, supreme mathematics is the rules. See, a lot of that, Shalai, it comes down to, see, that's the mindset. See, when you already have that type of mindset where you think in that way, when you have that mindset where you think in that way, you know what I'm saying? That I already know what knowledge is, right? And I already know how to make knowledge more. See, other people is looking for the hidden answer. You know, how are we gonna get across the Red Sea? Well, he never said nothing but Moses could do magic. you know. So yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I don't know. We got any last? I guess we'll give it 30 more seconds. See if any more questions come through. See, I told y'all gotta write it down. You got is I know what happens. You have a question that you think about, but then by the time I go live, you can't think of it. So that's one of the advantages of uh, being in New York at that time is that if you got a question, there's people that walk with a lot, all around. You could just go ask somebody. In this day and time, gotta wait until I go live. Horrible, man. Horrible. Horrible. I don't know how y'all can think that that's better. I don't know how y'all can think that this is somehow a better teaching tool. Horrible, horrible. Yeah, I gotta do the questions and answers again. You probably should start from the beginning. Do the same questions. They don't know. Yeah, the question and answer segments. You know what we probably should do? Bernadette Brady said, "How often do you go live?" Well, we scheduled for Mondays and Tuesdays, but recently I've been like that's in my new goals is to kind of expand my message out a little bit wider, you know, because I'm personally I don't like uh, how much the 5% is spoken about, right, without a law being spoken about. And by that, I don't mean that to make him like a what would you say, like a into an idol. You know what I mean? I don't want to make him somebody that people worship. You know what I'm saying? But I do think it's important to understand what his original ideas was. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody, if you out there and you affecting children, you trying to do it in a positive way, you got some goals. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, uh, a lot of 5%ers, right, who is actually, trying to cut corners or, actually was straying away from his teachings, right? Uh, a lot of times, the 5% gets, when people ask themselves who and what is the 5%, it gets judged by those people. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what I'm saying, for instance, is, if you seen, right, a 5% doing crime, that's not a Lord's teachings. The Lord's teachings is go to school, get a job, or learn a trade. You know what I'm saying? Allah's teachings, was, for us to be upstanding, uh, you know, benefits to our community. You know what I'm saying? Allah's teachings was that, you know, uh, the time is now to use this knowledge and wisdom that He gave us and apply it out here in the world, so that we can construct our own paradise instead of living in the hells. You know what I'm saying? That we was forced to live in the wilderness of North America. You know what I'm saying? And with that being lost, then like I said, it's not to worship Him. It's just to understand that He gave us a direction with this. You understand what I'm saying? Our way of of doing things, our vector of getting out of our situation is education, not crime, not rap music. Not, you understand what I'm saying? Like, those is all various things. And I'm not saying that wrong rap music. I'm not really comparing crime to rap music, but I'm just saying that, that's fine and good. But not everybody is talented like that. You know what I mean? Not everybody is cut out for that industry, even if they are talented like that. You see what I mean? But everybody can deal with education, right, and apply that education in a way where they can fulfill their roles on the universal flag, man, woman, and child. You know what I'm saying? And the responsibilities that come with each of those roles. You see, and that's what the law is teaching us, to stand up on the square and be upstanding in those roles, so that we can play our part in living in a community where it was love, peace, and happiness, and not death, hell, and destruction. You see what I'm saying? And so, because that's getting distorted out there, I said all that to say that I've been doing a little bit more live streams. So, we got Mondays and Tuesdays, but, I would just hit the subscribe and the notification button, and, I guess you'll be able to see some more of the live streams. But, in the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna sign off and say peace. Uh, you know, the weather's not supposed to be, too hot tomorrow. I don't know. Might rain. Not like I'm scared of water, but if it does rain, we might get an early live stream in. You know what I'm saying? But